everyone, welcome to the Big View Show. Today we're talking about one of the most powerful yet underused tools for real estate agents, YouTube ads. Most agents think YouTube ads are complicated or expensive, but in reality, they're one of the easiest ways to get in front of homeowners in your exact market. And that's what we're breaking down today. Before we start, please drop in the comments where you're joining us from today. Our guest today is the creator of the Neighborhood Expert System. He has trained over 5,000 agents across US and Canada, helping them build predictable real estate business without spending a fortune on ads or buying leads. And today, he's going to show us exactly how to use simple, affordable YouTube ads to stay top of mind and win listings consistently. So please drop in the chat. I can see already a few comments here. Hey, Kyle from Austin, Texas. Hey, you're a real estate dad. That's funny. Hey, Mike Flower. Hey, Kindred. And without any further ado, please keep the comments coming here in the chat. But please also welcome Matt von Winkle. Welcome to the Big View Show. How's it going, Matt?
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to see all these Texas folks in here. I'm in Austin as well. Thanks everybody for coming on. Happy to share some ideas about how to utilize YouTube ads and kind of how to just build your presence in an accelerated way. And that's what we'll be talking about. I'm excited.
Yeah, very excited to talk about YouTube ads. Thank you everyone for joining. Today we should have a lot of valuable information that you'll be able to implement right after this session. So take notes, because this session will be a little bit of a strategy and also really how to run ads, the budget you need, and the kind of videos you can create. So Matt, before we get started, I always ask this question, but how did you get started in real estate? How did that happen? When that happened?
Yeah, no, so I started in real estate in 2009, just as the market was starting to crash. And I had this great idea that getting into real estate was going to be a good career. I had gone to law school. I didn't want to be a lawyer. So I started in January 2009, and I ended up just starting solo, built up a little bit of a team. I was doing internet marketing back before anybody was really doing internet marketing. I used Google AdWords. I was one of the first people on Zillow, actually. I'm originally from Seattle, where Zillow was from. I built up a team, did that for about 2 years. Then I actually got into the brokerage side of the business. So I opened a RE/MAX office in Seattle and started training agents how to build businesses. So I did that for about 10 years. I had about 700 agents that worked for me throughout Washington and Oregon. And then I also coached agents nationally, really about how to systemize their marketing and how to use technology to streamline what they're doing. And so a lot of what I talk about today is going to be that same idea. It's like, how do we make this really simple? Because in order to be effective, it's got to be simple. So teaching agents how to do simple marketing, how to run their business. In 2022, end of 2022, I decided I was done with kind of the brokerage side of the business. I wanted to just get back and have my own sales business. I ended up moving to Austin, Texas to be closer to family, started a real estate business from scratch. So had no network, no leads, no clients. And I really just leaned on YouTube ads and establishing myself as the go-to agent in a particular neighborhood. And that's what's built my business into what it is right now.
Amazing. So you did build the business that you have now in Austin using YouTube ads.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. I want to know more about it. So I think that's a good intro. So you had a lot of agents that you helped them. Now you start a new business using YouTube ads. If you could start sharing about the strategy, the kind of videos that you need to create. And the question that we always have on Big View is like, which platform should I focus on? Do you feel that YouTube should be that platform for the agents that are just getting started now?
Yeah, that's kind of great because I went through that same struggle. I mean, everybody, past couple of years, it's been TikTok and Instagram, and I didn't have a presence on any of those. And so the way that I look at it is I focus my ad dollars on YouTube, but I do cross post everything on Instagram and Facebook as well. So I guess that's kind of my approach, is that I want to be present everywhere, and I'll talk a little bit about kind of how I establish that presence. But in terms of like where my ad dollars go, I found that YouTube is by far the most effective way to be spending ad dollars.
Interesting. And how did you discover that YouTube was working? Or when did you discover and get the first leads from YouTube?
It's actually the way that I knew that YouTube was working is my kids showed up to school on the first day of school, and every one of their friends knew who I was and knew their names because their friends had seen me on YouTube. That was the first indicator that I was like, okay, maybe this is working. And then maybe 2 weeks later, I was hosting an open house and somebody walked in and said, "Oh, I saw you on YouTube. You talked about this." I don't even remember what specific ad it was, but he asked me a specific question about what I talked about in the ad, and he wanted to know more about it. And that was when I first started to see it working. And then later, it really kind of became a scenario where I will get random text messages. "Hey, Matt, I saw you on YouTube. I'm interested in buying a house. Oh, I saw you. You're the YouTube guy. Oh, I want to list my house. I saw you on YouTube. Can you come talk to me?" And now it's every week I get somebody reaching out, specifically saying that they want my services. At the beginning, it was, "Hey, I've seen you." Now it's, "Will you come help me?"
Interesting. And for the agents that they now might be wondering, okay, I could do that, but I don't have time. Like, do I need hours to implement this? Minutes? How long does it take weekly, for example?
Yeah, so I'll kind of walk through all of that when we kind of go through it. But I mean, basically, I spend less than an hour a week, not even an hour a week, to be able to do this. It's a scenario where, I mean, I've used Big View, I think, for like 5 or 6 years. So it was a really easy transition. But I create scripts in bulk. I use ChatGPT to help me with hooks. I have my ideas of topics. My topics are basically whatever people is asking. What kind of questions am I getting from buyers? What kind of things am I seeing in the news? And then I use AI to create hooks. And then I write 15, 20-second scripts, really short scripts. I do that all at once, and then I load them all into Big View. So I do that on my computer, and so that's all sitting on my phone. And then when I'm at an open house, we're always at open houses. We always have dead time. I will shoot a video or two or three or four or 10. I mean, I can shoot 10 videos in 10 minutes, really, at this point, because of they're already loaded into the teleprompter. And I just move around the house. Sometimes I sit, I go outside, whatever, but I'm just reading off a Big View. Most of the time I can do it in one take, because the scripts are already written, and you just get used to it. And so it really does not take a lot of time to maintain this.
I'm very excited to see how that works, how you create the scripts and how you do everything. Before we really start that, if you watching this session have any question, watch us live right now, please drop in the chat any question that you may have. We're going to try to address all of them. We can see that Agent on Tube here has a lot of comments here engaging with us. Hope that this information is being valuable. And Matt, whenever you're ready, if you want to really get started on, okay, how they can implement this, if they're getting 0 leads, what would be the first step? What would be the first thing they need to do?
Yeah. So that's where, when I was kind of looking at how I wanted to rebuild a business model, I looked at what my most successful agents that either had worked for me in my brokerage or that I had coached, what were they doing? And they had all taken over a neighborhood. Basically they were established as the neighbor, the agent in a neighborhood. But the problem was it took them 5-10 years to be able to do that. I didn't have 5 or 10 years. So I wanted to look at it and say, how can I establish myself as the go-to agent in a neighborhood, really, really quickly? And that's what I was really kind of focused on. So what I looked at is trying to find the right neighborhood. That was kind of the first thing. So before you're running, YouTube ads, you have to know, where am I going to be putting them? What neighborhood am I going to run ads? Because the great thing about YouTube is you can get hyper local. Like you can pinpoint small areas and just run ads to those areas. So what I always recommend, and what I've always taught, is you want to find the right neighborhood. For me, the neighborhood that I work, it's called Steiner Ranch. It's a suburb of Austin. It's about 20 minutes from Austin. And when you're kind of picking the area, I went and I looked and I said, okay, I wanted to have at least probably about 4,000, 5,000 homes. So I went to my title company and I looked for 4,000 to 5,000 homes, and looked for good price points. I wanted to have higher price points. So looking for, an ideal neighborhood is probably, 4,000 or 5,000 homes. It's going to have a price point that's above the average, quite a bit above the average in your market. So in Austin, the neighborhood I work, the average price point is about $1 million. In Austin itself, I think it's like 500, 600,000. So I picked a neighborhood that was on the higher end. I've had a lot of people say, oh, they want to go like do luxury neighborhoods and stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend that if you're trying to use these YouTube ads to build a business. But I wanted to find an area that I liked. I wanted to find an area that I was happy to live in, because that's the other thing about using kind of this model, is that I run all of this business in my own neighborhood. All of my listings, all my clients are 5 minutes away. So I'm not driving all over town. I'm not dealing with kind of a lot of the stuff that I did before when I was selling real estate that a lot of agents get sort of stuck into. So once you've kind of got your potential area, which you can get from a title company, or I'm happy to kind of share exactly how I do it. But then I just go on the MLS to look and see what the turnover is. You want to make sure you're running ads in an area that has better turnover. I mean, with the way inventory and sales are right now, every neighborhood has pretty low turnover, but 5+% turnover is ideal. My neighborhood in a normal market has like 5 or 6. Right now it's about 4. But then, once you've got your neighborhood, it's about going all in on one area. And that's really what I advocate, and what I've done with my business is I've identified my area and I go all in on that area. So the way that I do that is the YouTube ads. It's social media. So it's Instagram mostly, but also running through Facebook as well. I'm doing my open houses in one area, and I also have now added traditional farming. I do postcards as well, but I didn't do that at the beginning. I didn't have the budget for that. Didn't want to be sending out the postcards, so I just started with the YouTube ads. So the kind of the flow that I go through, and the way that I would recommend doing this to establish yourself as the go-to agent in the neighborhood, which is what this is all about. If you're the go-to agent in the neighborhood, then people call you. So you start with the ads. You start with YouTube ads. And if you're not familiar with YouTube ads, they're really simple. I mean, if you watch a YouTube video or you watch a YouTube short, there's going to be an ad that's going to pop up before the video. It's going to pop up in the middle of the video. And basically, I'm that ad. I pop up before and during videos. And they're very simple. And the great thing about YouTube ads is that you have to watch 5 seconds. So I use the ads that are the skippable ads, but they have to watch the first 5 seconds. So in 5 seconds, you can say, hey, I'm Matt Van Winkle. Hey, I'm Matt Van Winkle. Hey, Matt Van Winkle. So I can say my name over and over and over. I say my name at the beginning of every single ad. I also put my name on as a watermark on every ad, so that my name is just there over and over and over again. So people are just seeing my name, hearing my name over and over again, because they have to with that 5 seconds. So, so
I just want to say something, because it kind of goes in the opposite direction of what people are usually doing. Because I see people all the time trying to use a hook in the beginning of the video. So, but when you're talking about our YouTube ads, you should focus on saying your name so they're going to remind you, right? Because you're going to talk only about that community.
Yeah, that's a great kind of a great point, because when you're doing regular social media, if you go on Instagram and you said, "Hey, it's Matt Van Winkle," like people are gone, they're swiping, and that's exactly what they say not to do on Instagram and on social. But on the YouTube ads, my goal was initially to build name recognition. And so I don't necessarily say that every time now, but my name is on the ad itself. But for the first 6 months, every single ad, because I knew I got at least 5 seconds of their attention. They can't skip in the first five. So it's not like on Instagram where 1 second somebody can scroll past you. They're going to at least hear your name. They're going to hear the neighborhood. So I would always say my name, and I would say something about to get the neighborhood name in there too. So they just kept hearing me and the neighborhood.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a
Yeah,
regular.
and then kind of using the hooks now. I still use use hooks and kind of all that. And I know that somebody made a comment here about having YouTube Premium. I have YouTube Premium too, and I don't know why more people don't. But it's like hasn't occurred to a lot of people to just pay for it and don't see ads. So it's incredibly effective for reaching people, at least for now, at least for the next couple of years, until everybody gets premium. But one of the things about the YouTube ads, and when I mentioned kind of the thing about my kids' school and being seen there, the thing about YouTube is that YouTube has moved off of being dominant on computers. It used to be you're on a computer, or you were on a smaller device. But YouTube is the most watched thing on TVs. So when a TV is on in a household, almost 10% of the time that a TV is on, it is actually on YouTube. It has more market share than Netflix. It has more use than anything else. So people are not watching regular TV on TV. They're watching streaming services, and the number one streaming service or service like that they're watching is actually YouTube. So it gets you in front of people. And I've had clients tell me that they saw me pop up on their TV while they were making dinner, and their kids were watching TV in the living room. Their kids were watching YouTube, boom, ad pops up. So it's highly effective for just getting in front of people. But when I'm doing them, kind of my tactic is pretty simple. So with YouTube, you have to run two types of ads. You're running vertical and you're running horizontal, because your vertical ads will show up on shorts and your horizontal will show up on TVs or anything like that. So the only thing you have to remember is that when I go shoot my videos on Big View, is I shoot it once this way, and then I have to flip it and I shoot it a second time. So it drastically increases your reach if you're showing both types of ads. So I always run both types of ads. And there were a couple questions I'll just touch on real quick as I keep going here. So, kind of for the neighborhoods that I target. So that was kind of what I was mentioning with working with my title company and then figuring out what area I want to work. I target the neighborhood that I live in. And so there are restrictions on how close you can get on targeting, but you can get pretty well targeted on a particular neighborhood. So if you go into Google Ads and look up YouTube ads, it tells you what you can and cannot do, because this kind of addresses one of the other questions: if will it work with niche markets like downsizing rather than a neighborhood. It would be more difficult to do a downsizing, because when you are running any housing related ads, you are going to be, at least in the US, we've got our fair housing laws, which restrict how you can target. So if you were selling just a regular product, you were selling a pair of shoes, yes, you could go on YouTube ads and you could target people who are 65 years and older, if you thought that would be your market, which is often like the downsizing market. But with anything housing related, you cannot target based on anything that's protected by fair housing. So you'd have to find kind of a different way for targeting, and if you wanted to do different from a neighborhood. But you can get into targeting like around certain employers, around areas, around interests, around all kinds of stuff that you can do with the target. I just do the neighborhood. I know I'm getting, you're probably getting some people on here who aren't home buying. I mean, I know I'm getting, middle schoolers are seeing my ads because I can't restrict by age when you're doing housing, but you're still getting, you're getting the views that you want. And so, as I kind of mentioned, I create the hooks in Chat GPT, I load them into Big View, and I shoot them all at open houses. I can shoot 10, 15, 20 ads in an open house. We always have busy open houses, and we always have the one that you're sitting there by yourself. So I just utilize that time. It makes it real quick. It gives me a different backdrop all the time for my ads. So I just use a basic microphone. I have a gimbal. Sometimes I just hold my phone in my hand to kind of change it up a little bit. And I shoot them in an open house, and then I've got them batch created, which makes it really easy to be running the ads. And I'll show you a couple just real basic ones, because I want to kind of show you how I do it and what I watch for. So this is my ad dashboard. I'll come back to that in just a second. But where I kind of start, as you can kind of see that these are just, this is just a basic ad. And this one I like. This one did really well because it highlighted that I do something different. So one of the things that helps with this is that I'm running two types of ads. I'm running ads that are talking to people, and I'm running ads that are selling real estate, that are listing related, because people like the idea that when you sell their house, you're going to put it on YouTube and get it in front of other people. So this is kind of just a simple, this one I did about a year ago, one of my earlier ads, but very basic, and actually got me quite a bit of attention.
We cannot hear Matt, the audio. We cannot hear the sound, Matt, of the video. You want to try to share screen again?
Oops. 1 second. Let me try again. Okay, there we go. Now it should work.
Hey, I'm Matt Van Winkle, and this is your Steiner neighbor's house. So how am I showing this to you? Well, this is the strategy that we used to show houses to just the right people. So if you're curious how we use this strategy to sell this house quickly and how we can show your house to just the right people, click below and let's chat.
So that was kind of just a pretty basic example that I used on that house, and just to show people that we can get, not only am I advertising myself on YouTube, but I'm advertising their properties on YouTube. And I'll just show two others that have worked really well for me. Some of my higher performing ads.
Impact of rate cuts and everything that's going on in the market. Let's chat. I'm Matt Van Winkle, and I'm currently sending Steiner houses to 13 different active buyers, and they're all having trouble finding something. So I bet one of them wants to buy your house. So if you would like me to share your house with one of those buyers, see if you can sell it off market, just shoot me a message. Or if you're curious about what's going on and the impact of rate cuts and everything that's going on in the market, let's chat.
So that was another one, again, very, very basic, and it established two things. I mean, it established that I have lots of clients in this neighborhood, and that I'm doing a lot of work in this neighborhood, but also that I'm creative in how I'm working with my clients. My clients can't find houses, so I'm out looking off market to be able to find houses. And then I'll just show one more, because this is another one that I was able to use both of how we did it, but then it becomes proof of concept to people who are interested in using you to list their house. I think I might need to start over though real quick.
We used social media and YouTube to get over 10,000 views on.
1 second.
Want to know how we used this video to set a price record in Steiner Ranch? We used social media and YouTube to get over 10,000 views on this house before it even hit the market. That's how we found the right out-of-state buyer who fell in love with it instantly. We sold for a record price, and my clients got exactly what they wanted, staying in the home after the sale until their son left for college. So if you're curious what the kind of strategy I could bring to your sale, let's talk.
So that's another one that I use just kind of as proof of concept, proof that, you know, being on YouTube is more than just how I'm marketing myself. And so when I'm looking through my ads, you know, I kind of talked about how I create the ads. The other thing that you've got is you've got these great analytics. So this is my ad dashboard. And what it allows me to do is see what kind of impressions and what kind of views that I'm getting. So you can see right here in a month of ads, I had 31,000 impressions. That means 31,000 times, hey, it's Matt Van Winkle. That was said 31,000 times in a community that's got about 17,000 people, 4,500 homes, about 17,000 people. So that's a lot of name recognition and building that out there. Had 130 clicks. I was running a couple different ads that were designed to generate clicks. And then in terms of this number here, this is what I watched. This is called the true views. This is the number of people who watched more than the 5 seconds. So the impressions is the number of people that saw the initial ad, and the 8,400 is the number of people who watched past that point. And you can even go down by each video and see how much of it there was watched. So I use this to be able to track my videos. So I'm usually running 2 to 3 videos at a time. I review them every Thursday, and I either leave them running or I swap them out based on how well they're performing. So like this one is performing well. I've been running it for a little bit. 75% of the people watching that saw this watched at least half of it, and you had 40% of them made it to the 75% mark. So that was a good performing ad. Here's one I'm running for a seminar. I'm doing 60%. But we had, 40% of them were still watching halfway. These are some ones that I pulled because they weren't performing as well. And so when they don't perform, I just pull them and kind of just keep them going, swap them out with something else. Let's see if I have any others. Oh, I just have those 2 that I'm running right now. But I run 2 to 3 at a time. And just swap them kind of as needed. I always have basically a catalog of ads that I'm ready to run. And it's really kind of whatever somebody is talking about. And what it's done is the running the YouTube ads has allowed me to do some other things that I know I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't have the name recognition. So running the ads is just one thing. It's what I would call like the foundation of how you're building yourself out as the neighborhood expert. But I'm also reposting those on social media, so people find me on social media. But then I leverage the fact that people know my name, and I leverage that to generate listings through open houses. And so here's the strategy that I run there. I'll touch on this real quick. The question popped up. So the budget. So right now I'm running about $400 a month. When I started, I was running like $100 or $150 a month, and it's split between the different ads. You can be running as many ads as you want, and you set a budget campaign wide. So I would say, if for people that have been starting out with this, I've suggested, about $150 to $200 a month for your ad budget. That's enough to be getting recognition. I've been growing it as my market share has been growing, and as I've had more things to advertise, because now I'm advertising me, but I'm also always running a bunch of ads for listings. So that's why I've increased my budget. But on an ROI or a return on investment standpoint, like there is nothing that you can spend $200 a month on that gets you this kind of name recognition and this kind of visibility. I mean, postcards, you'd hit 200 postcards. I had 8,000 people for $400, or I could send a postcard to 400 people one time. I mean, I had 8,000 people in a month, like over and over and over, and 30 some thousand impressions. For just a couple $100. But what it's done is, as I've built that
I just had one
presence.
question, Matt.
Oh, yes.
Because all these ads that you're running, are you using the same landing page, or they going to exactly the same page, or what they're seeing after they click on that button? Because that's also matter, right? What should they see when they click on the action?
Yeah. So I'm not as focused on clicks. I do have 3 different landing pages that I send them to, but I'm not, honestly, I'm not worried about that, because I look at this as name recognition. But what I can show you real quick is let me pop up my 3. These are the 3 landing pages that I use. And I just do one based on, what the type of ad is. So this is probably the one I use the most, which is just like, if you have a question or you're thinking about buying or selling, like if that's the general messaging of the ad, then it's just this one, which is just schedule a 15-minute call with me. If I'm running ones around home values, which I don't really do that much, I feel like that's become very saturated. Everybody's doing that. There's no unique value prop there. But I have this one, which is just a basic, what's my home worth? And then this one is really effective. And I'll talk about exactly how I was able to do this, but this is incredibly effective, because it gives people something that they can't get somewhere else. What's in the pipeline, what else is going to be for sale. And the YouTube ads have allowed me to basically build out my own private database of properties of sellers who I know would sell at some point in the future if the right thing came along. And that's where kind of the way that what these ads allow you to do. So the way that I further leverage these ads is actually through open houses. So the way that this works is, since I've established myself with homeowners and the general community as the real estate agent for this area, or at least they know my name and they know I'm doing business here. At open houses, I am looking for opportunities that will give me reasons to reach out to prospective sellers. So a big challenge with open houses is that a lot of agents do the open house and you're trying to sell that house, or you're trying to, get the lead to sell them a different house. But buyers are resistant to give you information or to really do much with you, because you're the 5th agent they saw today, and every agent says the same thing. Hey, do you want me to send you my buyer guide? Hey, do you want me to send you listings or things like that? It's like, well, if I'm a buyer, I walked into this open house with no agent, I have a phone, I can look at Redfin, I can look at Zillow, I can look at stuff that's on market, so that's no value add to me. So instead, what I do is I ask them, a couple questions about the house. Why is this house you're in not the right fit? What are you looking for? Obviously they haven't found it or they wouldn't be there. So then I say, hey, if I could find you something off market or send you a couple options that are not currently for sale, would that be valuable to you? And almost every single buyer says, well, yeah, I mean, I would certainly be interested in seeing something that's not on the market. So now I've got their contact info. I've got exactly what they're looking for. And I can go back to that database, that list I got from the title company when I created the neighborhood I was going to work on, and I can start reaching out directly to homeowners whose houses might fit what my clients are looking for. And the way that I do this is just with a really simple email. I just send an email to the owner and I say, would you consider selling blank address to a client of mine? I put in a couple details about what my client is looking for that their house specifically has. Oh, they're looking for, my client wants at least they want a 5-bedroom house with a 3-car garage, and they want to be in River Ridge School District. That's a popular elementary school around here. So I can send those emails. But the thing that happens is that because people know my name, they actually open the emails, because it's not a bulk email. It's not a generic email. It's not to everybody. It's specific to their house and specific about a person who wants their house for a very specific reason. And because of the YouTube ads, and because they've seen my open house signs, because they've seen my social media, they know my name and they open. And the number of opens I get and the number of people that reply to those emails is pretty phenomenal. And emails are free. Sending emails are free. So I'm using these YouTube ads to generate people directly off the ads. I'm using it to give me opportunities to reach out using other methods that are free, that don't cost me any money to reach out to more sellers. And then those emails generate two things for me. They either generate a house that I can sell to that buyer that I have, or they generate a listing. And either way, it's a transaction. Either way, I'm building a list of sellers who would sell if the opportunity was right, that then I can then offer at the next open house I go to. I did an open house. I found somebody who wanted a certain property. I went out and reached out to 15 sellers. Well, I didn't find one that matched that buyer, but now I have a few new potential properties to offer to the next buyer at the next open house. And that just continues to cycle, to the point where, we're in November here, but I've got signed listing agreements from 10 different sellers for next year that are already ready to go. And so I already have my pipeline lined up for next year from people that have either responded to these emails or they've called me because of the ads, and all of those. So the question came up was if my open houses attract neighbors who might be wondering what theirs might sell for. Not usually, but I think that's how a lot of agents usually think you're going to get sellers, from open houses. Where I get the sellers from open houses is taking those buyers' needs and then reaching out to sellers, and then trying to create my own, create listings from that, or just do a transaction off market, just connect the two and get the sale done, without even going to the MLS or having to go through the hassle of putting it on the market. If you can just connect the people at that phase. And it's really, I think it's because of, kind of the cross presence, but the YouTube ads, the social media, the open houses, all of those things tied together are building me up as the neighborhood expert. And it gives me the credibility that people do open the emails at a much higher rate. I've compared this to agents who have tried using the same method without running ads or doing social media, and they don't get the same opens on their emails, because they don't have the name recognition, and haven't established their credibility through the ads of, yes, I have buyers in this. Oh, I sold this house. Here's what my buyer is looking for. I'm running an ad specifically for this buyer. So people know that you're the agent who is going the extra mile for buyers. So when they get an email from you that matches what they already know about you as going the extra mile for a buyer, like, oh, well, here he is again, going the extra mile. I wonder if this buyer will fit my house. Nope, doesn't fit. But when I sell my house, I want an agent who's going to do this for me, who's going to go through this much effort, for me to be able to do that. And it's that kind of cycle that has allowed this to just kind of keep feeding itself now. And I've been doing this for about a year, coming up on just over a year. And now it is really, really self-feeding in that, probably in the past 3 months, 2 months, I've gotten so many direct leads off of people who say, I saw you on YouTube, or we knew when we saw the house that we had to call you because we always see you on YouTube. And it makes it so that you're not going in, to pitch or to, as a lead. You're going in to just confirm, that you're the right person. Because, NAR put out the numbers, last numbers I think we saw it was like last year, where it's almost 90% of sellers go with the first agent that they talk to. So it's basically, if you're in there first, the listing is yours to lose. And so if you're the first person that they think of when they think about real estate, then you're the first person that gets the call. And that makes it most likely that it's your listing, unless you do a really bad job in your listing presentation. But if you're the neighborhood expert and you know all the listings and you're selling all the listings, then you're going to do a good job in the listing presentation. And then that, again, just self-feeds, because now it's at a point where I sold more houses in this neighborhood than anybody else. So they see me on YouTube, then I've got the stats to back it up. And then when you're sitting down in that listing presentation with somebody, you're going through the comps and you can say, yeah, I sold this comp. Okay, I held this one open and here's why it's different or not a good comp. Oh, I know why this person bought this one and it shouldn't be a comp because they had a very specific need, and they wanted that exact house, so they were willing to pay a premium for it. That level of knowledge and expertise just continues to reaffirm, I'm the person who sells the most real estate in this neighborhood. I'm the neighborhood expert. I'm the one who you want to call. And it all builds, off of those YouTube ads, and makes it so you can continue to just grow and succeed with that.
Very, very interesting, this strategy, Matt. Would you mind showing us a little bit about how you create these scripts on ChatGPT? Because we know that after this, you put them on BigView, but we haven't seen exactly how you create the scripts for the ads.
Yeah, so I can pull. I can pull this up. I can show you in real time how I would make some more scripts. So one of the things that I do is that I always just keep a list of ideas. So if I think of something sort of that I'm kind of coming across, then I will just quickly toss it into my list so that I can come back to it later. So let me show you how I do that. So the thing I do here, this is a project management tool that I use, but you could use anything. But this is my current ads, and I also use this for all of my content production. So basically, these are my ones that are ready. These are the ones that are ready to post but not posted yet. So I've got my ad topic, I've got my script, my headlines, and I've got just a reminder to myself of that this one is ready to go. These are my ones that are live, and these are just a couple ideas. So this is just an idea I had that I want to do. It's on a listing I had, so I kind of came up with this little script. But whenever I have these scripts, and I'll kind of show you that from this perspective too, this is my general content production, but these would be just kind of my ideas that I have. So here's an idea that I have. And so what I would do is I would just take this and I would put it into ChatGPT along with a prompt to create a script. So I just take my topic there, and then the way that I have my prompt set is that it gives me a script and it gives it to me directly for the teleprompter. So I have part of my prompt is telling ChatGPT that I'm going to be copying and pasting this into a teleprompter. So don't put any spaces in it. Don't do any other things. Just give it to me straight to go in. So it gives me my script, which is right here. It gives me my Instagram caption, which is there. It gives me my YouTube Shorts title because even the ones that I don't run as ads, I still run them, put them as YouTube Shorts. And then it's got my YouTube description and a YouTube pinned comment all right there, just from kind of dumping this into ChatGPT. And so here's an example of my most recent work that I was working on in ChatGPT. And I just said, so here we go. So here was me looking for some new blog ideas, but I also had it do, there's some scripts. This is when I was having to do some scripts. So let me see if I can have one, or if I can just make a new one. Yeah, so I can just make a new one real quick. So I can say, part of it is going to be what's your history on here. I have certain styles that I like, so it knows my style, but it say, give me 10 hooks for Steiner sellers. So the way that I kind of go through this process is I'll usually have it give me some hooks. I will kind of pick which ones I want. And what I found to be the most effective is, sometimes it kind of goes off the rails. It kind of does its own thing, or it sounds very robot-y. What I'll do is I'll narrow down the hooks. It's going to go real slow for me since we're trying to do this live. I'll narrow down the hooks, and then I'll have it do one. And after it gives me one, I like doing the voice, the voice recognition conversion on here. And basically I will just read the script back to it and say what lines I like and what lines I don't like. And say, I like this because of X. I don't like this. I don't like using, there's certain words I don't like to use. It doesn't look like it's gonna work for us. There's certain words I don't like to use. But and again, this is why I do it in batches, because it only remembers your stuff for a little while, and then it kind of goes back to the default. So I will have it give me some hooks. I'll do one. I'll work through the script. I'll talk it through the script, and then I'll tell it to give me the full prompt. So it's going to give me the script, the caption, the YouTube description, and then I'll do the next one, and I'll do them all in a row, because that way you're building off of what you told at the last one. So usually like the first 2 scripts that I'm doing, I might have to give it a lot of feedback, but then the third one, fourth one, fifth one, it starts to spit them out really well, because it remembers the context and everything that we just, that I was giving it. And then I always do it on my computer so that I can just copy and paste from Asana, where I keep them stored, right into Big View. I just do it right there, because it's super fast to just, I can upload 10 scripts in 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I mean, it's super fast to get them into Big View. And then it's just sitting on my phone for whenever I have a few minutes to shoot a video.
I had one question about expectation, to set the right expectation. How long should they expect to start getting leads if they start running ads? For example, this week, they have 5 ads running on their specific neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say to get pure leads of people reaching out and saying, I want to talk to you because you're on YouTube, that might take you 2 months, 2 or 3 months. This time of year is actually better, because people are going to be seeing ads. They tend to be home more during the holidays. They're going to be seeing them, and it's also the time of year when people will start to think about selling. And in January is when they'll start reaching out. So you probably see see faster results right now. But I would expect if you're running a good number of ads in the area that you're holding open houses, you'll have people within a month saying, oh, I've seen you on YouTube. I found it takes about a month for people to start to get that recognition of like seeing you more than one time and starting to remember you out of all the different ads that they're going to see. So I'd say recognition in like 1 to 2 months, and probably leads, in 3 months. But the conversion of leads you get elsewhere will get easier in that shorter time too, because people will see you elsewhere, or that they'll see you on YouTube, even if that's not why they called you or clicked to contact you, but it will help you convert leads better because they are just generally aware of you.
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically, to sum up, if you really want to start implementing this, first, Matt recommending creating the script on ChatGPT with the structure. Then you put them on Big View. And when you go to the listing open house you have, you record 5, 10 videos if you can. And right after this, you just start running ads. And if I remember correctly, you mentioned to review every week the performance of the ads, right?
Yeah, so I just have it on my calendar on Thursdays that I review my ads, and I usually leave them about 2 to 3 weeks, unless I'm doing one that's not performing. Like if I do one and it's doing way worse than the other ones, then I will pull it after a week. But I usually run them for about 2 to 3 weeks and then swap them out on Thursdays.
Great. We have a question about if you create organic content as well, or you just focus on ads.
Yeah, so I do organic. I'm only running about 2 to 3 ads a week, but I'm posting something on YouTube every day. I post a short every day, and different people have all these very elaborate strategies. I use a really simple strategy. I post 2 types of content, and it's really effective. I post things about real estate, and I post houses. So it's like I'm either posting something where I'm talking about a real estate concept or what's going on in the market or a question people ask me, or I'm posting a tour or a feature of a particular house. And that's the same thing with the ads that I'm running. I'm either educating or I'm showing a property or a feature of a property. So for a lot of the organic content that I do, I just call them feature tours. It's a 10 to 15 second video about something about a house that makes it cool. Like this house has a surprisingly big yard for this neighborhood, or this house has got a really cool pool, or whatever it is about a particular house that makes it special. It's not a full walkthrough tour of every house or anything like that. It's just a quick little feature.
I had one question about the length of the videos, because it seems that all the ads that you show us today, they were around 10, 12 seconds. Do you have a length that you recommend?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on your content. I mean, the ones I showed you were my shorter ones. I run them up to like 20-25 seconds if it's more educational, like I'm talking about a bigger concept. I tend to be long-winded, so I try to shrink it as much as I can. But when I've been on the right topics, even the 30-second ads can get, a lot of people making it 75% of the way through. So if somebody's watching your 30-second ad 75% of the way through, it's like, okay, you're speaking specifically to somebody who's interested in what you're saying. And so I think that's the thing to look at it too. Is just there's no problem running longer ones. Just check the metrics, knowing you're not going to get as many people going. But if you're getting a good number of people making it a long ways, then what you're talking about really is resonating with somebody. And so keep at it.
I think this comment that we have right here is probably the issue of most big view users. They're agents. They're posting for already a few months, but they're not having exactly results because, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're not running ads, not necessarily the people that you want to watch your videos is the ones that are watching, right? So do you think that running ads is a must or it's optional right now? It's like, it's a nice
I
to have.
think Yeah, no, I think it's a must, because the thing, and I've had a lot of agents kind of say the same thing, posting 3 times a day and putting it all these places and haven't had any success. I think my question would be, what are you posting and who are you talking to? I'm talking to a very specific group of people in a very specific place, and so mine works. Like I've got like 4,300 Instagram followers. That's not, none of my stuff is going to go viral. None of that's going to happen. But I know who's looking at it, and they are people who own houses nearby, and then they reach out. I'm running YouTube ads to people that are right here, right around me in the area that I work. And I see a lot of real estate content that's put out there it's general. It works a whole city. It works a whole area. It's designed more for agents. My stuff is never going to go viral because people outside of my neighborhood aren't going to care. But the people inside my neighborhood do care. And that's all I care about, is like, I want the right people to see mine. And I think that ads are really important to do that, because just posting on your general organic media, you might get views and you might get likes, you might get followers, but it's probably not going to be the people in the neighborhood that you're trying to work in. You might get one, you might get lucky, but you're going to get, a lot of the agents in my market and other markets where I've coached that have a lot of followers and kind of a lot of reach, they're running all over town. They spend half their day in the car because their clients are all over the place because their reach is too wide. I don't go more than 5 minutes. And the ads allow you to target that specifically.
Perfect. And before we let you go, Matt, if the users, the audience, they want to take the next step, learn more from you, how you could help them, what should they do? I'm leaving your email here in the chat, but what should they send you?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer anybody's questions. Just shoot me an email. In the past, so I ran brokerages and taught a lot of agents how to sell and build more systemized businesses. And I created programs to basically just copy exactly what my biggest agents were doing. So you don't have to figure it out. You just copy it and do the exact same thing. So I have done the same thing with what I'm doing now, because as I've been doing it, I've had a lot of agents notice and say, how did you do that? So I did create, basically, if you want to copy everything that I'm doing, you can have it all. I did create a product for that. It's called the Neighborhood Expert System. And you're welcome to check it out or send me a video, but I'll give you all of my scripts, all of my social posts, all of my emails, all of my postcards, 100% of what I'm sending out this month. You can have it, and copy it and do it in your own market and hopefully see the same results.
Amazing. And final message, if now real estate agents not having results on social media, what you have to say or motivate me to create more content or start running ads to get the results that I want?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing, I've been doing this for a long time, and the biggest thing that I discovered is that in the past couple years, everything has shifted, and people want local expertise, and the consumer is getting very sophisticated. So if you want to build a business that is unlike probably what you could have imagined before, because of the way the consumer mindset has changed, now you can do that. Like this, using these ads and using social media that is hyper targeted to a specific neighborhood is going to allow you to run a much more profitable business than you ever could have before, because you're not going to have to go as far and you're going to be able to do more business. So I guess that's my biggest thing is like, if you can just follow this, be putting out content that is hyper local to your area, running these ads, you'll be doing business without spending so much time doing it, which increases your profit per hour work, which is what I always measure. How much am I making per hour that I'm working? Not how much am I making, but what's my profit per hour that I work? And with YouTube and social media and neighborhood expertise, you're going to be able to hit a number that nobody's ever been able to hit in this industry before.
Amazing. So thank you so much for your time today, Matt. All the valuable information. Thank you for all of you joining us today or watching the replay of this session. We're going to send an email with the recording so you can watch again, take notes. And also we may have a special offer for those of you that attended this session. So wait for this follow-up email that we'll be sending. Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you.
Final message?
All right. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.
With the Big View teleprompter, create videos you're proud of. Easily trim your video by selecting the words where you want to start and end. Color your presentation with automatic subtitles and highlighting keywords. Add your brand logo. Add music for an emotional touch. Add your contact info on an animated business card on all your videos. Easily replace green screen with an image or a video loop. Stand out with a web page with your logo, your video at the center, and personalized button for visitors to interact. It's one tap to simultaneously upload your videos on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.